Now I'm using my tank for view range. Look at those missiles. Heavy tanks are so tough, and I'm trying to keep him back so I don't lose it, but that I've got its view range. And I thought, right, look, you've got to get back here. This is no good.
Battle control initialized.
Hello there, comrades and cannon fodder. It's Dvoid here. I've got a 1v1 multiplayer game, and I'm using Russia, and my opponent's using Russia for this one. We're on Assault map because this is my first game of the day, and when I switched on and jumped into Red Alert, I saw this player waiting for a game on this map, so I thought, well, I'll give him a go. Get a few warm-up games in. And I remember this player as well. I've posted games against them recently. So I thought, oh, it's ideal. I know this player. Ideal opponent for a warm-up game. And I've sent 3 riflemen straight for the enemy's oil derrick. And I've got my own engineer going for my oil derrick. Now, he's not got anyone escorting him properly, but, you know, the enemy can't get there just yet. I sent these as soon as I could, and I'm just halfway now. So my rifles can get to the engineer before he's really in danger. My opponents positioned their rifles perfectly, and they've also captured their oil derrick already. I would have to have sent a rifleman round the back. And I would have been able to catch. Maybe, may have got away anyway. So I thought, right, keep your engineer guarded. There's only 2 oil derricks on this map, and I didn't fancy my chances at taking that one away from my opponent. But I did go round with this rifleman looking for the engineer, but my opponent's got their engineer and is heading on a long journey. I wonder if he makes it. We're both building our war factories, so we've got our 2 refineries. And my rifles, I decided not to move out any further and left them there. We've got my rifle scout, both killed each other, double KO. And my opponent has actually got a scout ahead of his engineer. So that's sound. But I've got this, you see, now it's just after 2 minutes, I've got rifle guards in position. So if this engineer follows its orders, he's gonna be lost. My opponent's got rifles placed in all the essential positions, although they're not watching their approaches to their base. The engineer's still on his journey, and I'm sending rifles out. Look, watch here and here, just to make sure the enemy isn't using aggressive base pushes. Yeah, they're protecting things, guarding things properly. It looks like they've actually gone for an ore truck rather than a scout vehicle. The engineer's still on his journey. Now, when you use this tactic, I discussed this in comments with a player recently, and I mentioned it in a recent post. You should halt your engineer short of this kind of position, because it's easy to have rifle guards in place here. You can recall them quickly if you need to and stuff in the early game. But your engineer, you want it to stop before the midpoint in the map, because, you know, look, he's just going to run into trouble and provide me with a veteran. There you go. All that way, just for that. And I'm keeping my veteran rifleman and swapping it for a standard rifleman, because I manage my veterans right from the start. I do my best. And we were having some issues with the game slightly slowing because we had a spectator, and that was, it turns out, that was how we, you know, that's why we were getting some slowdown, some drop in frame rate. And now the spectator, because they might have been in another very far away, you know, or have a, I don't know, their machine may be slow. I don't think that would be it, but they may be very far away and it slows down the server, because all 3, the spectators and the players, whatever happens needs to happen at the same time on all the machines, and if one is in Australia and 2 people in Germany and Britain are playing and there's someone in Australia, it's still, you know, all the computers, they have to have the same reaction for it to be fair, which means that, you know, it's delayed. You'll get your slower ping rate, so when you give an order it won't happen straight away. There's always a slight delay, but as long as you pick the right servers and your opponents aren't too far away, you shouldn't see any issue. But sometimes a spectator, for whatever reason, can slow your game down. So if you do have issues, just boot them and politely send them a message saying, look, you know, clear off. And my opponent, I'm waiting for their expansion, and I've sent some extra rockets and stuff, look. And let's see what I can see. Nothing yet. I don't know what's going on, but I'm waiting for their ore truck. Let's have a look at these starting army values, 11,000 each. So I'm still not aware of what's going on. And my opponent's moving vehicles in. My opponent hasn't seen anything yet. And there you go, they placed that refinery and I got the ore truck. Under attack, it survived. Very nicely done. Now, I attacked that and put the APC up front, but it's got the engineering side, so I had to get out of there. And look, the eco transfers happened, and that distracted me. I thought, right, I'm attacking. And I could see the losses I was suffering. But I've got one ore truck. Where's the other one that was damaged? Oh, it's going for repairs. Nice one. They repair themselves up to half health, so there's no need to do that. Let them heal up to half health for free and then repair it. But I saved the APC because it had the engineer inside. But I'm in trouble. I'm sending this force north with this force because I have to. I have to do something now to distract my opponent and do some damage because I've just lost a lot of my forces. They're at 17,000 army value, I'm at 12, and I'm in trouble. And my APC, half health, is protecting these troops, with the engineer still inside and it's lost. So now my MCV is escaping, and I'm losing everything here. I'm getting the ore trucks out of there, but even this is worth a fair bit. You know, they're 300 apiece, and that, and the flamethrowers are expensive. You know, I'm in trouble here. And then my attack, I've destroyed an enemy ore truck. This is my counter-attack. But look at that, their flamethrowers are very effective, and my tanks are in proper effective position because I had my attention was also at my home base, having to protect and defend it from this force approaching, although they're idle now, sort of. But here, look, I noticed they've stopped my attack, so I had some decisions to make. Look at the flamethrowers, so effective, so I decided I'm moving these tanks away, but they're going to continue to be a nuisance. And look, they're drawing these forces away, so they're doing the job. And look, some are turning back. My opponent is too smart for that. And I knew this was coming, so I've got this lot of units here for defence. That's enough to stop them, I would think, as long as I've got defences, but I was worried about this. And here's these 2 tanks making their way round for another eco raid, look. Even though this force has been defeated, that was my counter-attack. It did very little, did a bit of damage and took out an ore truck, but... And there's another destroyed ore truck, but my opponent has now reached this tank. So we're in trouble there. And look, I was trying to find out what was approaching, and the enemy has gone straight to the perfect place. It was perfect. And here you go, there's my units moving up to defend this at the exact moment this force hits. So my units aren't in any position to defend. Look, now they're turning back. I've lost about half of them for nothing. My MCV is fleeing from my only expansion, and there's still an eco transfer underway. And look, there you go, I've lost, you know, what, 90% of that force I had in defence. And yeah, I got rid of their tanks. That's okay. Now this force is dealt with. But I'm moving my MCV to go back here because I thought hopefully they won't attack it straight away because they won't think I'm there. So I've saved my ore trucks and my opponent's fallen back down here, look. But I placed a base defence. I've still got tanks churning out. But, you know, I was aware of my situation. I'm in trouble. I've got nothing. My cash situation has been bad for a while. Since I got knocked off this expansion, it's been a, you know, I've been beaten back badly, and my cash situation has just been terrible since then. Look, we've got all these ore trucks mining from nothing, and need to start mining that again, but then my opponent's got no cash either. What? Very interesting. But they've got an income far better than mine, and I've got no cash. Here we go, my opponent's moving around, and I haven't got anywhere near enough units to defend my assets now, so I have to respond to where they're attacking, and I knew they were down here with some units because they fell back. They've moved south. So my opponent has chosen the perfect place to attack, exactly where my ore trucks are here, look. Very good manoeuvring and attacks from my opponent, and I'm responding to this. So they know where my assets are going. They know where my next position is, because they saw my ore trucks heading that way. And now, look, my tanks are out of position again. And the MCV's trying to escape. And it's too large a force for me to stop with what I've got here. Those flamethrowers are lethal. And I've got another expansion set up nicely, but no infantry production over here, no vehicle production, and my opponent's at 20,000 army value. They've got 10 times the army value I have because I'm at 2,000. I'm still fighting, doing damage, but yeah, we've got problems. My opponent has set up an expansion next to mine, and they can afford base defences and reinforcements, whereas I cannot. And this is my only hope for cash. And my opponent's hit all my ore trucks, look. Such a shame. And there you go, they're clearing up the rest of my base, and I've got my other MCVs heading here, and my opponent has already thought of that. And they've secured everywhere else, look. No problems at all. So, there you go, I'm sending my forces in, and this is it. I'm at less than 2,000 army value, my opponent's just increasing in army value, and there you go, look at all those lost assets. I had nowhere to send them. And there you go, there's that MCV destroyed, and that was the final straw. I had to give it up after that point. So that was my first game of the day. I thought, oh right, okay. And my opponent did mention that he'd been practicing and stuff like that, so I was happy to hear that. But here's the army graph, look, and we were even. My opponent was slightly ahead, but not by any significant amount. But after this engagement where I lost my units attacking his expansion, and all I did was take out an ore truck, it was not worth it losing all that. And then it led to this position being overrun, my first expansion, and that was a problem. So as you can see, you know, it was just a beating from that point onwards. And here's the earnings graph. My opponent started quite well and maintained a reasonably stable income, whereas mine was okay, but it just dropped off. So I was struggling for income. My opponent's got a nice amount of heavy tanks. I've got the flak truck and a basic amount of infantry. Combat chart. My opponent's got 26,000 army value. They lost 2 structures. I lost 25. Very nice. My opponent killed 197 units. I killed 116. And my opponent killed 65,000 credits worth of my assets. I killed 26,000 credits worth of theirs. That's what you call a beating. Support powers, there are none. None being used. My opponent's still building basics, tanks, infantry and refineries. And they hung on to an oil derrick. I've lost all of mine, but they've got 7 ore trucks left. And my opponent earned 77,000 credits. I earned 63,000 credits. I've got some cash left. Obviously couldn't spend it at the end. And there's the economy graph for you. Basics. My opponent was at 63 actions per minute, so he's giving some serious orders. I was at 27 actions per minute. I hadn't quite woken up yet. And there's your scores. 620 to my opponent, 258 to me. It was a savage beating. So, fair play. Well done to my opponent. Now, I'm going to go to game 2 straight away. So, we'll just get straight to that. And I fought these games in a row. In this order as well. So, second game, and this was our rematch, and we are on Scorched Earth. I'm using Russia, and my opponent's using Russia, but because my opponent's in this sort of magenta colour, I switched to my green, just so that you can easily tell the difference between our units. So obviously I'm in my secondary green colour, both of us using Russia on Scorched Earth map. So here we go. This is game 2, and this was, like I say, second game of the day for me. And I started earlier than I usually would. So I'm just waking up, and here we go. I'm sending a couple of rifles, and when I send rifles towards the enemy oil derricks, I usually sweep past my own. So I can get an engineer out fairly soon, although riflemen are getting to places in the map as early as possible. Now look at this, I should have sent them straight there. Look, the engineer has got no cover whatsoever. I should have sent these straight for him. Yeah, it would have been... Yeah, it's possible I could have made that. But I'm protecting my own. I haven't done, you know, it's not really a mistake. It was just... Sometimes you don't take the chances. There's no way of knowing. You have to. I always assume my opponent's competent and that they're protecting their stuff in the ways they should. It's just safer to assume that. And I turned back with these two riflemen because I knew my opponent was in the centre. Now I've got my first oil derrick captured, and there's these guys moving in, these 3 rifles, but my opponent's got 2 rifles in position. So we'll see how they arrive, and yeah, my opponent's firing there, and there's my opponent's engineer making their way, and it's well safe, this area, and I've cleared 1 rifleman, and I've lost 2, and he shot my engineer. Very nicely done. That was a bit lazy from me, allowing that. And it looks like my opponent's got rifles all over. So I've gathered this force. Rocket soldiers being produced. You see, if you produce a second engineer, it can interfere and leave you without your rocket soldiers, and then you're unable to defend yourself against a ranger or flak truck or APC. So you need to watch it. Building a second engineer can cause problems. And there's my opponent. They're sending the engineer on a long journey, look, this way, around here. So I'm late deploying my rifles guards, but you know, I'm sure by the time he gets there. Now, these look like grenadiers, and I've got 5. Excuse me, so this is an early grenadier drop, and I'm properly escorting the engineer. Look, this is the second engineer I've trained. My opponent's still got units around, still threat. Excuse me. So, here we go. I've got my APC, and my 5 grenadiers are going straight for it. So my APC is not grouping together with my units like usual, my riflemen and rockets. It's actually being used for a gren drop straight away, grenadier drop. And there's my engineer, well protected, look, with all these rifles about. And I thought my opponent's going to have units around here, just to track my expansion progress, but there's my APC. He's on its way, and my opponent, there you go, the rifleman took 2 or 3 shots at that APC, so there's the warning. That's the warning you get. And that's why I don't put them on attack move, because the APC would have stopped and killed that rifleman and given itself away. So there's my opponent's engineer still on the way, and I haven't got my rifle guards in position. The APC's left in place. My opponent, let's see if they've got anything in there. No, it's just a scout APC, this one. And my APC has moved past this rifleman, so there's another warning for my opponent. And I've ordered it to wait there. Now, I've ordered all units to respond, and it's made my APC respond at the same time. And it looks like it's going straight for the enemy army. That's not good. And I'll just let it continue on its way, and it survived. I didn't want to stop and turn away or go back. I thought your only chance is to continue. So I've sent it on repairs and back this way. But hopefully, I'm thinking if my opponent saw it with these units, they're going to think it's just a scout APC. Why would I have gone back that way if it's a gren drop? So that's what I'm thinking, if they did see it. And there you go, my opponent is now attacking my oil derrick. But because I haven't got vehicles, I backed off. But I decided to go for it, and this is a mistake. My opponent has my APC's going past the rifleman again, and my opponent sent half their force this way, and it's been cut down. That's bad. But they've got their expansion set up there. I'm just setting mine up, and there's the APC. It's made its way here, and there's that rifleman got 3 shots off again. So my opponent has had plenty of warning, although, like I say, if I'd have seen that, I wouldn't assume it's a grenadier drop. If it was driving around like that, showing itself. My opponent's tracked my expansion. There's my APC look. And my opponent's just moved out with their construction yard, which means they can't place base defences now, and everything else is moving forward. I'm at 12,000 army value, my opponent's at 11. Now my 5 grenadiers, I order them to 4 of them to attack the power plants and then the service depot, but the 5th grenadier can attack the service depot anyway because his grenades will be wasted on the power plants. So I'm leaving my APC as a screening unit and allowing the grenadiers to go to work. Every moment these guys are held up is, you know, another salvo. And there you go. Destroyed the service depot, destroyed the power. They must be in a pretty sorry state. Yes, 0 power. That's bad. Very bad indeed. And they can't produce tanks because I've destroyed the service depot and I've got a larger army value, so they're going to have to halt their production order, although they're not too bad, actually. Oh yeah, they're going to have to get producing APCs, but their economy's fine. Their economy's perfectly fine. So they're not too bad, it's just, you know, they're still in low power. And my army size, of course, will be increasing, and they're... Look, I've got 12 grand cash. They don't want that piling up, they want to be spending it. I'm at 17, they're at 13,000 army value, and here we go. I thought there's a good chance they're going to be here. Mining from this, so I thought, right, do some damage and get rid of all this. It's too early for infiltrations because I don't have my radar dome, but I'm expanded here, and then I saw my opponent was reacting and sending units, and I thought, right, well, I'll kill them piecemeal, but also I wanted rid of that because it means no more base defences. So I took the chance of having those tanks out of position just to get rid of it, no more base defences, and I saw that this was a puny force. And I've got other tanks arriving, no problem there. Overrun and destroy the power, probably before they've properly recovered. There you go, so there's game 2 for you. My opponent's called it for that one, so I'll just go through the graphs and charts for you. There's our army graph. My opponent was ahead, very interesting, until the initial engagement at about 5 minutes dead on. And there's the earnings graph. Look at that. My opponent was doing very well for their earnings. They'd expanded here and here. Very good. My finishing army is a few tanks, got my engineer and a basic amount of infantry. I've got a 16,000 army value. I didn't lose any structures. My opponent lost 10. I killed 91 units. My opponent killed 49. It's a short game. I destroyed 24,000 credits worth of my opponent's assets. My opponent destroyed 8,000 credits worth of mine. A very short game. Short but brutal. And I'm still producing the basics at this point. Heavy tanks, base defences, power plants. I've got an oil derrick. That one survived. I didn't capture the hospital, did I? No. I've got 7 ore trucks and I earned 49,000 credits. My opponent earned 52,000. I'm not surprised they did better than me for earnings. Seemed to do quite well, and we both got a decent amount of cash. We both spent 49,000, look. So basics, I was at 30 actions per minute. My opponent was more than double at 66 actions per minute. That's more than an order a second on average. Giving a lot of orders. There's your scores, and there's your graphs and charts. And we decided to have a decider, a final game. So I'll go straight to game 3 for you.
Terminated.
Where are we? That's the one.
Battle control
And
initialized.
this is game 3. We're on Kosovo map, and we're both using Russia. And this time as well, I'm in green in the top right, because like I say, my opponent's using this sort of magenta colour. It's pink, but it's, you know, it's kind of a magenta colour, kind of. And I've also used that colour myself. I used a red, but I also mixed it into, so it was that kind of colour. Mine was a little lighter. This is a little bit more purpley. Mine was like as close to magenta as I could get it, but I've seen other players using that colour. So I have a classic red, and my backup green camouflage colour. And on this game, this is our third decider game, I decided to go with my standard pattern. And I've got my first two riflemen. This guy moves forward and covers the engineer from the side. This guy moves forward and makes sure the enemy doesn't come straight for me. So the engineer should be fairly safe to capture and be the third infantryman trained, and the rest of my infantry can then move up to protect it. And this guy will warn if my opponent goes straight for me, like I say. Most players go for this one, the most contestable central oil derrick. So that's why I use this pattern. Although, to be fair, actually, a lot of players do go for the central oil derrick, but most of the time, to be fair, players go for the closest, which is this one, then to the centre. And what I do is I capture the closest one like most do, but then I go for my opponents, and I move, as they capture it and move on, I move behind them. And then usually end up engaging here at the centre once I've got my scout vehicle, which should be fairly soon. Should be producing the war factory next. And I'm taking my time placing the power plant. This is valuable seconds that I'm wasting. Yeah, more, because I'm controlling these. More wasted time. My opponent has captured one oil derrick. I've captured one. And there you go. My opponent's about 10 seconds ahead in their building production. And look, they've got a nice area covered over there. And I'm leaving a rifle guard, look, and moving back. Although this rifleman is to watch for early enemy flank attacks, because even if it's early in the game, they can still send tanks this way and this way. No reason why not. And now I'm gathering my forces, look, and escorting the engineer, and I'll be gathering my forces around here to attack the centre. And my opponent's going for their second oil derrick. I've got two. So we are pretty much even. There you go. We've got two each. So now this is where the clash happens, where we actually, you know, bump into each other, because we've both got two oil derricks, so we now have to see what each other's going to do. And I'm surprised that my opponent didn't capture that one. But I didn't think they'd have gone for this one first. Most players go for that last, if at all. It's good if you've got a Ranger or an APC, and you're in a fairly comfortable position. Send your transport with your engineer in to capture that. It's the best way to do it, quickly. But there you go, my opponent is moving in here. And I can see them. So I'm responding with this lot, look. I haven't actually attacked that. My force wasn't fully ready. And I can see them here, look, capturing. So I've ordered the APC to kill the engineer, and there are no rocket soldiers. So I've got no worries. These guys are doomed. It's a waste of units. So I'm sending these in, and they haven't got close enough. The APC's going to have to kill them. So I'm moving this way to go for the central oil derrick, while the APC runs down them. There we are. And I ordered it to move back rather than going this way. I didn't want it to move into tanks or rocket soldiers and get destroyed, because that would leave me with no vehicles. So I went back and this way, which I think is the wise decision. Let's just check what my opponent can see. A few units, vehicle, engineer. That would tell me that my army's there. If I was them, I would know, or I would assume so. And they're in move command. No, now they've ordered the attack on the engineer. That will get them killed. And I had to move that away. Oh no, I got wiped. Just got burst by those missiles. And when I saw that captured, I thought, right, there's no point fighting there. I'm going to fall back and use the view range of that, especially as now I've lost my APC. For all I knew, my opponent had vehicles. But they've built their MCV already. They've got the second one, look. Now a heavy tank's rolled out. My delay is costing me. They've built their MCV and heavy tank. They're way ahead. That's not good. Now I've started to build my heavy tank. It's like 25 seconds I'm going to have to wait before my vehicle rolls out. That's not good. But I'm lucky that my opponent hasn't got a large force of infantry to attack with, because these guys would have been in trouble. They could have used a tank, one or two tanks to win. They've got two now, and my first heavy tank has not rolled out yet. That's not good. There you go, I'm getting my expansion set up, and plenty of riflemen to guard the approaches. There you go, there's my first heavy tank. And I can see my opponent here. There you go, look. My opponent's capturing my central oil derrick. The machine gun rifleman can shoot the tank, and the tank can't fire back because I've got the view range of the oil derrick. Not anymore. Now I'm using my tank for view range. Look at those missiles. Heavy tanks are so tough, and I'm trying to keep him back so I don't lose it, but that I've got its view range. And I thought, right, look, you got to get back here. This is no good. So let's check army values after that first engagement. I'm at 10,000 army value, my opponent's at 5. So I didn't know, you know, what poor condition their army was in. But my own was in a pretty sorry state. They're still at 5,000, I'm at 12, so yeah, it's not good. You have to... Their economy seems fine, but your production, they've got 3 barracks, and I have 1, 2, 3. Where's my 4, 5? I should have 4 at my base, but obviously I've 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 6 barracks. They've got 3, 4. And I bet I've had more for a while. So I'll have 7 soon. There you go, I've got 7 barracks. But they've recovered nicely. I'm at 15,000 army value, they're at 10,000. That's not bad. They're increasing in army value bit by bit, that's fine. But I was the one that had to fall back, don't forget. Not good. So I'm a bit, like, cautious. See, I've got forces here. And if my opponent attacks this way or this way, you know, this will slow them down. I can produce some units. And one excellent tactic for fighting in defence is to have your units, your infantry and vehicles, etc. back here, and have the enemy approach from this angle, and they would have to move past the view range of all your structures. That means you can trim away the first few units that are coming to attack range, and they can't even fire back because they won't have view range. Even if they're vehicles, you can start to destroy the first few. So if you make your opponent attack through a few structures before they get to your units, you know, defending this area, you wouldn't want to put your units here, or even here. You would want to put them here. That's what I mean. You know, place structures there and defend it here. So that's what I've found is the best way. Even falling back into a better position is more useful than engaging with your full force. You know, without proper preparation. You want to fall back and get into a good solid position. It's worth shedding a few units in retreat to do that. And I saw this was bad because I've got Tesla coils and a lot of my tanks are dying. But I brought my MCV up straight away, got this base defence in, and it's made the enemy retreat. And I've taken the risk of a frontline war factory. And now my opponent has moved here. And even though my guards are telling me I've, let's see if I've noticed, are any units responding? No, I've ordered everything to attack, so my attention is all here. And the noise is probably distracting me. There you go, my opponent is moving on to my MCV, very nice. As base defence is working. Ouch, flamethrowers just gutted it! But I'm continuing the pressure here, and look, my opponent's army defenders are broken. That's not going anywhere. No chance. And there you go. So, more base defence is working. My opponent, it needs to push on. Now here you see, this is it being, these defences being used without even any units, and it's still slowing down the enemy, look, while I gut my opponent's base. I've still got primary production here, where it should be here. So it's probably about this point, yeah, there you go, I'm reacting now. So it wasn't long before this point that I actually noticed. So my opponent took out my conyard probably before I realised I was under attack. My engineer's been left behind, and here we go, I've pressed my attack. And I'm covering the barracks. Gutting the base, very nice. And there we've got... Let's see, this looks... Primary production's there. We've got a capture on the enemy, and there's an infiltration. Let's just see if they've got any credits first. Yeah, they have actually, not bad. Not bad at all, so it's worth the infiltrations, and now I've lost the engineer. But I'm switching. There's another infiltration. But that's stopping me having my primary production here. There you go. So as soon as I'm done with thieves, I'm placing primary production here because I know these guys are coming, but I'm also pressing my attack here. I've got that attack underway, but it's still the chokehold because I'm resetting the capture bar and destroying everything else. There you go, and I'm running out of places to mine ore from, which is why these ore trucks are over here. But a capture there would be handy, because these ore trucks could then drop the ore off here. There you go, look, I've got a frontline refinery. There you go, my opponent's attacking, but I've got a second war factory. So this is the essential structure to defend, the service depot. Oh, don't turn away. I'm sending everyone else away and using just these. Nice, they'll do the job. Everyone else can go. So now I'm wondering where my opponent's expanded to, and I should have checked this. Look at that. My opponent's got a nice bunch of stuff there. Plenty of ore trucks. That could, you know, get my opponent's forces going again. You know, you have to watch it. When you think you won and you're looking for your enemy and you start splitting up your units, it's risky because they could destroy your forces in smaller groups if they're ready. There you go, my opponent's called it. So that was game 3 for you. I'll go through the graphs and charts just so it's complete. And they were my first 3 games of the day. My opponent was a little behind in this and the army graph, but we were even very early. So it may have been early engagements. And is my opponent's earnings and mine? I've got a nice earnings spike there. Probably when I infiltrated, although I'm not certain. Here's my finishing army. V2s, heavy tanks, thieves, flamers, a couple of engineers, and a nice amount of infantry. Not bad at all. Combat, I've got a 32,000 army value, so I've got a solid army considering how early it is in game. But I lost 13 structures. My opponent lost 22. So it was a more substantial fight, that one. I killed 187 units, my opponent killed 96 units, and I destroyed 62,000 credits worth of my opponent's assets. My opponent destroyed 30,000 credits worth of mine. No support powers in effect. I do have my radar dome, but as is often the case, I went for thieves rather than airfields. But I did get V2s this time, I built one. So there's nothing wrong there. There you go, it looks like I've got a V2 rolling out. So it's just built one, just. And I'm building Tesla coils for the base pushes and more V2s. I've got my oil derrick. Which one did I hang on to then? Oh, this one here, yeah. And I've got 6 ore trucks. I earn 87,000 credits. My opponent earned 82,000 credits. And both got a bit of cash left. Basics, I was at 31 actions per minute. My opponent was at 77 actions per minute. So they're going faster and faster. And there's the final scores there for you. And all your basics, graphs and charts. I hope you enjoyed that one, those 3 games. Like I say, I thought I'd post them because they were my first 3 of today. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, give us a sub and a like. And take good care of yourselves. Until next time, thank you very much and goodbye.
Battle control terminated.